Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. In this episode, I vulnerably share my own journey, the bad, the ugly, and later, the good. Whenever I share the challenges I faced personally and professionally, I am told that it gives others the permission to share their own struggles, and it gives hope that there is indeed another way to do work and life. I am resharing this podcast episode as a must listen, so that if you are experiencing anything similar in your career, you remember that we are in this together, and that if I can experience this kind of transformation, anyone can. Before we jump in, I want to shout out one of my clients who was my inspiration for resharing this podcast episode. After hearing my story, he reminded me how important it was to share, because everyone is facing their own battles. And when we can relate to one another and see a path forward towards improvement, it is so very powerful. In a moment of overwhelm in his work, he found this same message of radical ownership over the situation, empowering and inspiring to lead the positive change he wanted to see. Now, enjoy this must-listen reprise of episode number 25. And like any episode, click on the last link in the show notes to message me your feedback and thoughts. Enjoy. In today's episode, I am sharing my personal transformation story, why I engaged a coach of my own, and why I trained to become the coach I am now. It will answer for you why coaching, and also when to take the leap in engaging support of your own. Take it from someone who didn't know what a coach was. Outside of a sports coach, that is. It can feel like a whole new world. Before we jump in, I want to share feedback that I received when I began my own coaching journey. Here's the quote of what I was told. "You are glowing. You look like you're getting younger. How in the world are you doing all of this with ease?" Prior to coaching, I was low on energy, stressed out, short-tempered, and began encountering significant health issues. Coaching helped me learn how to excel in my work, yes, but also to excel in my health and relationships too. I increased my capacity, my capability, tenfold. I was able to achieve more of what I wanted in every realm of my life. Physically, I became stronger and lighter. I started moving my body more and relying on food and drink for comfort less. Emotionally, I became less short-tempered and more grateful. Professionally, I excelled in my COO role and launched my own business, doing fulfilling and rewarding work. Personally, I showed up more engaged and loving in my marriage, in my parenting, for my colleagues, my family, and in my community. So yeah, I felt like I was glowing. Maybe I wasn't getting younger, but more fit and more wise for sure. And yes, I was able to pursue multiple dreams at once that gave me incredible joy and energy. Similar victories are shared by all of my clients, and today we are diving deep into my own career turnaround. So let's hop to today's podcast content and get you on your way to experiencing this also. Next week, the last week of the month, I have a special offer, a special event just for you, my audience. It is Consult Week, when I am freeing up time in my calendar daily just for consultations. These are complimentary 1-hour video calls where I help business people set their career strategy. You bring all your work challenges, unmet goals, and sources of stress. I show you what's possible and how to overcome exactly what is standing in the way of the success and satisfaction that you want. We set your career strategy, and we decide whether to work together to implement that strategy for faster results. In today's episode, I am going to give you an early look at the benefits of setting a career strategy with me as your coach. As successful business people, we usually are delivering on all fronts, knocking out business deliverables, keeping up with life's demands at home too. It's unusual to actually carve out time for our own career and to set our vision for how we want to work and live. Just like in business, if all we do is produce, head down, and fill our days with the BAU tasks, business as usual, we won't pick our heads up long enough to look forward and plot our course. Years and decades can fly by while we are just working our jobs. My challenge to you today is to invest the time with me in this episode, and if you choose, with me one-on-one live, to pause from the day-to-day and set your career strategy. Today we will cover some of the typical work situations and challenges encountered and how to move forward anyway. That's what we do in the podcast each week. I offer tips, strategies, and mindsets to perform with excellence and to truly enjoy our work. First off, let me tell you my own story with coaching and what inspired me to coach business professionals to peak performance and peak satisfaction. I never had really heard of or worked with a coach from a business or personal perspective until several years ago. I was in a leadership team that was, forming and storming. We brought in an executive coach to help steer our strategy as a business and inform the head of the business and I on how to direct the leadership team to a more constructive state of working together. That's fancy words for not ripping each other's heads off. Hey, we keep it real here. Anyway, in walks this completely composed, confident executive coach who didn't wince once when hearing of the bad behaviors and daunting industry dynamics that we were up against. He listened intently, asked powerful questions, and together with us crafted a way forward that included behavior changes, taking massive action, courageous conversations, pinpointed training, and rallying the troops. Needless to say, I was impressed. We were no novices in this space, but having this objective perspective who could come in without any of the high emotion or personal relationships that can blur our judgment transformed our approach and helped us make some very tough calls that we knew were right. Then, enter COVID from stage left. More downtime than I had since, before marriage and kids, when I would take up new hobbies every other month. So there I was, with lots of quiet time on my hands. Time to stop and think, reflect. It took a worldwide pandemic to get me to do this. You got that right. I wasn't a big fan of who I felt I had become, snapping at the people I loved, dreading each workday, feeling a shell of myself at the end of the day. Let me back up for a minute. We all work hard in business. The stakes can be high. It's the line of work we chose. Employment at will that could end abruptly at any time. High risk, high reward. Chronic stress worn like a badge of honor. We get desensitized to most of it as being business as usual. It seems like this is just the way it is, and we hustle and grind to feel safe and secure. But there were moments in my more than 20 years of professional experience that I was not prepared for. Witnessing and calling 911 myself for multiple occurrences of cardiac arrest in the workplace, watching colleagues collapse, turn blue, and become non-responsive, colleagues being carried out on stretchers to ambulances and having to call their loved ones to let them know. Losing colleagues to terminal illness in the office one week and gone the next. Losing a colleague and dear friend to suicide who felt there was just no other way to do work and life. I have seen people count down the years to retirement for decades, only to lose their health before they could enjoy it, receiving the cancer diagnosis in the week following retirement. Illustrious and legendary lifetime careers ended involuntarily and abruptly by the very company they dedicated their lives to and sacrificed their health and relationships for. I watched the stress from work weigh on people so much that it changed them. They became unrecognizable from when they started their career. Unhealthy ways of coping was the norm, and we did it together under the euphemism of work hard, play hard. Marriages ended. Children hardly saw their parents as they work round the clock. For years, I watched these things occur around me as if it was on a TV show or a movie screen. It was hard to believe, heartbreaking, but detached from me. So back to COVID, when it dawned on me that I too was on that path of self-destruction myself, and my health was plummeting. My biggest fear that I would lose my life, my health, and my beloved family, directly or indirectly, by putting my work above all, that I would end up like these heartbreaking horror stories that I watched all around me, or worse, that my kids would follow in my footsteps and end up in that situation, that I would get to the end of this life, likely sooner rather than later, and be filled with regret at how I lived it, because of how I deprioritized and neglected loved ones, and also the dreams I gave up on to follow the norm of the day. I had taken my inner drive to achieve, a fight for survival from my childhood that had served me well, but now was leading me to work myself right into the ground. I was wound up with stress about my work, my performance, my achievements, 24 hours a day. I worked at all times and would wake during the night thinking about work and giving in to doing more while my whole house slept. In my work, I felt stressed and handcuffed. I was using wine and cocktails as a crutch for comfort. I put on 20 pounds eating and drinking my way to comfort and using screens to escape. I was a nightmare to live with, snapping and venting at the people I loved most. I would yell at my amazing kids, my connection with my children waning as I was seen as the stressed-out mom with hardcore work that tormented her. And I would use any time we had together as a couple to complain to my husband, being a shell of a human with nothing left to give beyond my work. My faith, an afterthought, for some Sundays or when I was at the end of my rope. Every day felt like a battle, and I dreaded the start of each work day so much that it haunted every moment when I wasn't working. Every weekday, I wanted to stay under the covers rather than face my work. If I wasn't going to stop this myself, my health was going to force my hand, and it did several times. In the space of 3 years, I had multiple health issues that included multiple falls, a severe concussion, vertigo, chest pain, and emergency surgery. Even so, I would go against doctors' instructions in my recovery to finish a multi-month negotiation at the office. I recognized that what I had tried, the prescriptions of the day, they just weren't working. Any attempts to lean back in my career felt disingenuous because I was used to being highly motivated and committed to making an impact. Leaning into my career only made me keel over in that direction, with my health and relationships paying the price. It took that getting to the end of myself, the final straw of living my life out of alignment with my priorities and values, the internal conflict tearing me up from the inside out, realizing that whatever I thought I was sacrificing it all for was an empty promise. The more I took stock of my work and life, I knew something needed to change. I took a hard look in the mirror and knew this is not how I was supposed to be living my life. On paper, everything looked pristine, but it didn't add up. In my career, I had reached my goal role, corporate title, and compensation. I had the success I had always aimed for, but I was unsatisfied. I worked endless hours. Even when I wasn't working, I was stressed out about my work. I took calls from vacation, fielded emails from our leader on Saturday mornings, and did calls on Sunday mornings. I was always on call. The pressure was so overwhelming. Despite all this effort, I realized I was in a plateau. I had stopped learning and growing. Every other area of my life suffered. My health, my relationships, my wealth, my home, my spirituality. My personal life wasn't where I wanted it to be, in part due to the priority that I placed on my work and a lack of fulfillment there. I realized a relaxed retirement might be spent 6 feet under. A celebrated career might end in a thankless firing. Finally having time for the people I love only after they've all given up on me and left. It was an awakening. I saw behind the curtain on this someday that I had been working and living for. I saw firsthand where the road I was on was leading. I imagined missing years of my kid's life growing up in our house because I was at the office, worried about work, or worse, that my health called it game over. I decided that my kids wouldn't have to settle for me never being around, always being stressed, or losing my life early. Even worse, the thought of them growing up and following in my footsteps to dread their work and dread each day, being imprisoned by their own careers, full of stress, drained of life. I knew I needed to model a better life and a better way of working for them, to set them up for their own dream career and dream life. I decided that I was making my someday right now and wasn't going to waste another day sacrificing my own well-being and that of my family for a job that could vanish at any moment. This was the pivotal time where I decided to get support in making a change. After some months of panic, soul-searching, and brutal looking in the mirror, I got to work. I started learning more and more about personal development and coaching techniques that put me more in control of my life and career. I invested in a coach of my own to change my work and change my life. I realized the stress and the health issues, they were just symptoms. Turns out that my feelings of being conflicted, unfulfilled, and called to something more were warning indicators that there was indeed a better way. The problem, lo and behold, wasn't my employer, difficult relationships, or just the way it is for everyone adulting in the real world or in the business world. The joke was on me. I was shocked to learn that the fix to all this misery and stress was in me. After all this time feeling like a slave to my surroundings, my work, my environment, the one thing I wanted so badly, I already had. Control. Running around people-pleasing and searching for external validation was a self-imposed struggle that I could stop on a dime. When I was numbing my feelings and distracting myself, I was missing the opportunity to lead in my career and my life. I was handing over the way my story would end to people and situations all around me. The job, the company, the bosses, the peers, the paycheck, the corporate title, and doing everything I could to keep them happy in order to hang on to everything I had. In the process, I was losing everything that was more important. I got clear, for the first time ever maybe, on exactly what was most important to me. One by one, I started putting first things first in my life in this order: my faith, my health, my marriage, my children, my work. I did a gut check on where I was living out of alignment with my priorities and started righting the ship. I learned about how my mindset would dictate my success and that I could intentionally get my brain on board and even cultivate my own well-being through these brain hacks. I believe for the first time that incredible success at work and at home was not mission impossible, but inevitable, with a shocking level of ease and joy that I never knew. I started taking consistent action to learn and iterate, taking risks, being bold, and doing the courageous thing. I defined success for myself on my own terms. I enjoyed every step of the process. The burden on my shoulders lightened. I was fully present for the big moments and the little ones in between, with my family that I loved so deeply. I started taking excellent care of my health and dropped the 20 pounds. I started showing up my absolute best at home, in my community, and at my work. The surprise was my work didn't have to suffer to make it so. We can have it all, success in our work and life, without compromising what's most important to us. I broke through limits I myself was applying to my work and success. I eliminated what was stealing my productivity. I found purpose in my work. It felt like shattering glass ceilings. It felt like proving the haters wrong, whether it was society saying we can't have it all, career success and a dream life, or just me judging myself or letting my priorities get turned upside down. Moment after moment of pumping my fist in the air, having righted the ship, reaching a new level, a new personal best in my work and in my home life. It became a positive, virtuous cycle, one good thing leading to the next in every area of career and life. I share this story of my own transformation because even beyond what that amazing first executive coach was able to do in the office, in our business, and between us colleagues, when I had the support of a life coach too, I experienced that peace and success in all areas. Having walked this road, I felt called to serve others who were having a similar experience, to save them the heartache that I experienced and prevent the disastrous endings that I witnessed, to rebel against the typical template and pattern for business professionals and entrepreneurs. I felt drawn to a coaching academy that was grounded in neuroscience, at first just out of interest to apply to myself and my family. The discipline resonated in every way. By the time I certified as a coach, I felt compelled not to keep this best-kept secret to myself, but to serve others, both in my corporate role as a COO and beyond. I started my business and found serving other business people in this way to be the most fulfilling and rewarding work I had ever done. I realized this unique combination of consulting, leadership development, performance coaching, and life coaching was like cracking the code for successful business people who wanted to perform with more excellence and actually enjoy their work and life too. The impact it had on my clients gave me tremendous joy and energy. The way their careers, businesses, families, and communities flourished thanks to these business people showing up as their best selves floored me. The prospect of how much good and how many legacies would benefit from more of these transformations fuels me to keep refining my craft and honing my signature system. I went back into training for Master Coach certification and leveled up my methodologies again. Having lived this, having been surrounded by colleagues with these same challenges for my whole career, it has been my lifetime research project, or more like a lab. I experimented with every approach, learned, iterated, and applied again. The beauty is that I let others just use all my lessons learned through blood, sweat, and tears, or maybe it was heartache, failures, and years, to save them some time and pain on their own career journeys. Years later, I am still feeling so grateful for the breakthroughs I had not just years ago, but on most days. My passion now is helping others enjoy their work, reach their full potential, use their talents for maximum impact, and to love their lives. This is what I help business people do, to find the spark at the office and at home, to show up fully inside and outside of the office, to experience peak performance and peak satisfaction. So as you listen to my story, if you can relate in any way, maybe you realize you have been working hard, head down, with great results, but at a high price of stress and sacrifice that you are no longer willing to make. Or maybe you feel unfulfilled and that you aren't operating at your highest potential. Or maybe you feel curious and pulled to this because you sense there's a bigger and better future ahead of you, if you can just get out of your own way. Maybe you've stopped learning, growing, and being challenged, or you realize there may be blind spots holding you back, glass ceilings, or an inadvertent plateau limiting you. If you are a type A, overachieving professional who is driven by excellence and looking to catapult your career and your satisfaction, know that hard work only gets you so far. It will take new strategies to optimize and get to the next level of productivity and success. This is the mission of this podcast and my coaching. I invite you to pause from the busy days to take stock of what is working well and what is not, to decide what you want next, and to set a plan to get there. I created Consult Week, happening the last week of this month, to provide more opportunities to you to do this together with me. I free up my calendar for free one-on-one coaching sessions to help you take stock and set your own career strategy, to define success on your own terms, like I did, and we make the plan to achieve it. I love doing these career strategy sessions, hearing your story, and setting you in motion for a better work and life experience. If you would like the first look at my calendar during Consult Week, join the waitlist in the show notes to get early access to book. I hope if there are any aspects of my own personal journey that resonated with you, that you will use it as permission, inspiration, a sign even that this very moment is the time when you can decide that status quo is not enough, that you are ready to take the next step to create a better future, not just for you, but for your business, your career, your clients, your family, your community, and this world. Let's do this together. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor, helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.